Alright, homie, listen up. If your SAT exam is in a month, a week, tomorrow, it doesn't change the fact that there are only 2 ways to immediately improve your score: the last minute topics you study and the mental gymnastics of test taking technique. I took an SAT practice exam about 3 weeks before my real exam, and I scored a 1430. It's not a terrible score, but when the Harvard average is a 1520, that just wasn't gonna cut it. So in those last 3 weeks leading up to the real exam, I came up with a strategy to get my score up over 100 points to the 1550 I ended up scoring on the real test. I don't care if your SAT is in 2 days. If you lock in with me for the next 10 minutes, I'm going to tell you every single trick I implemented so we can give your score that last little boost it needs. The math section is objectively easier to improve, and if you're not already scoring consistent 800s, let me put you onto a little game. College Board has no rules regarding calculator programs. If you're going through the math section of the exam and you think it would save you time to have an automatic program on your calculator that would solve the side lengths of a triangle for you or just automatically give you the roots based on a quadratic formula, go ahead and download it. You want to have every possible advantage you can get. And if having these programs installed is going to save you an extra 2 minutes or get you an extra 10, 20 points on the exam, having these as reference is worth your time to get. People out there have made SAT math calculator programs for literally every use case imaginable. Just go online, go onto Reddit, and find someone who has like a compiled nice guide for you. With like I'll leave a link in the description for you. Just keep in mind to only download the programs that you actually need. What you don't want to end up happening is you download like 8 different.
Oh wait, yeah, my mic probably wasn't on before. So, if you're looking at this right, what he said about that getting your math to 800, um, don't worry about the calculator part because Desmos is so good. You shouldn't worry about it. But if you really want to, you can. If there's some niche concepts or some formulas you want, but my recommendation is just keep Desmos and work with that. But again, if you have a physical one, you like that better, go with whatever you like.
Programs, you don't know what any of them do or which one is the one that actually solves for the quadratic formula like you want. And then on the real exam, you're fumbling around or you're excessively using your calculator for a problem you could solve in 5 seconds on paper. Now, if your score on the math section is less than a 700, you're likely missing questions on every practice exam you take because you don't understand certain concepts. What you want to do leading up to your exam is study every single question that you get wrong. It doesn't matter if it was a careless mistake or not, you're going to go over it, identify exactly what you did wrong and how you're going to improve on it in the future. To keep myself accountable, I take like a notebook. You could also just do this on your iPad and keep track of every problem I was getting wrong. And that way, by the end of like a week and a half, you have like a list of all the mistakes you're making and you know exactly what to do so that they don't happen again. The other reason it's important to keep track of your mistakes is because this helps you identify what the actual problem areas are. Like for example, if you struggle with probability questions, not because you're bad at math, but just because the wording on the SAT is kind of weird, you can make that like a focus area for you in the next week or so. Go online, go into Khan Academy, use free resources, and just grind a bunch of probability problems until you're not making those mistakes anymore. I'll also link all the SAT textbooks I recommend. Do not waste your money here, but get any of the books that you feel will be useful for you to get those couple extra points in the math or reading and writing section. Always keep in mind that when it comes to this math section, unlike the reading and writing, it takes you maybe 15 minutes to understand and learn a new algebra concept. Ramping up your score here is way faster and you can literally do it in days. If you want to get your score up fast, focus on this first and then move over to the other section. One more last minute tip for the math section, and this is even for my viewers who are scoring like 750 plus. At some point in the week before your exam, go over the list of SAT provided formulas that you're gonna have with you when you're taking the test. And in addition to that, make sure that you know all of your basic geometry related formulas. So area and volume of a cube, cone, cylinder, all that good stuff. I can't even tell you how many people I know that showed up to the same SAT exam as me. They didn't know how to solve for the surface area of a cone. It was like a question about like a soda can, and immediately they just got the question wrong. Immediate 20-point deduction and a massive L. Do not be that guy. I'm not here to sugarcoat anything. If your reading score is like a 600 and your SAT exam is literally next week, there is nothing I can tell you in this video that will get you to an 800 overnight. But there are some quick tricks you can implement that will save you up to 50 points. One of the most commonly tested topics on the SAT is reading comprehension. And it's also the area that most students tend to struggle with. Unlike the math section, which is very formula based, and the grammar questions, which you can just learn the rules to and get all of them right, the reading comprehension questions are more out of your control. You just need to learn the skill to be able to consistently do it. For any questions about structure or meaning of the text, just start by reading the little blurb at the top of the paragraph. That one little italicized sentence at the top can give you context for the entire paragraph. Sometimes it can help you eliminate answer options. It's just useful to reference. The next thing here is that the SAT is objectively boring. The passages are whack, they pick the weirdest topics, no one enjoys it. Part of the reason why you might feel like you're struggling with reading comprehension questions is because it's so hard to just lock in for the entire passage. You're zoning out halfway through, you're rereading the same thing multiple times, and it's just not clicking in your head. If you want to get better at these questions, you want to develop some kind of a system in your head that helps you get interested in what you're reading. Just imagine for a second that you weren't reading an SAT passage, but instead you were just reading an article about some hobby that you have, maybe a sport, maybe a club that you're in. If you relate to what you're reading, it's way easier to be engaged in the text and actually remember what you read. You might have an opinion on it, it might just stick with you and resonate with some experience you've had. That's the goal here. You're struggling with reading comprehension questions because you're not comprehending what you read. College Board is not giving you any sort of trick question here. The answer is right in front of you. If you just understand the passage better, answering the question without having to reread everything is just going to become that much easier. As soon as you start reading the paragraph or you look at the little blurb at the top, find a way to connect to it, and you'll be able to retain a good enough understanding of the passage as you go through it, to where you won't need to reread it in order to answer the question. For the overwhelming majority of people, the science passages are going to be way easier to do this with because they're actually like relatable, they're not that complicated, and you've probably seen a lot more passages like this when you're in school just doing like your everyday homework. The worst passages by far are the Old English ones. I do not care what's
Yeah, so I think the reading part is harder for me. I don't know about the viewers, but for in my opinion, right, the the other part, the math part, is more of like you just have to have practice, right? I don't I need that practice, and I need more focus on the math section. The reading section is kind of similar, but I could use some more. I could use some more practice and vocabulary with that one. Our brains are kind of like AI in a way, right? So if you put more information in and more practice, you're gonna get more results.
some dude from 1762 wrote in his diary. Bro, what? It's just straight yap. Like, I used to get pressed just trying to figure out what the dude was trying to say. Can you speak a coherent sentence? Your best bet for going through those more tricky passages when you're just trying to lock in on what the hell they're trying to say is to actually go ahead and annotate the text digitally using like the little tools they give you in Blue Book. You can highlight key sentences as you go and also just leave little notes on anything relevant you find in the text. The actual notes that you leave don't really matter. The goal here is just to stay engaged as you make your way through the paragraph. As soon as you see one of these like old English passages and they have like 3 vocab words you've never heard of before in the first sentence, that's when you know it's your time to slow down a little bit, pace yourself, get through the paragraph without having to reread it 4 times and actually have some level of comprehension about it, and you can make up the time later in the exam with an easier like science-based passage.
Yeah, and I think this is where the uh, I think this is okay. I think this is where it it kind of okay. um, Okay. It's saying that I'm not high enough. Okay. So let me just troubleshoot the technical issue here. I'm just gonna troubleshoot this. Okay, so it seems like on a testing basis it works. Um, so with that, I was just gonna talk about this that I think for those it's for those English passages, right? That vocabulary that you learn with the roots, which probably gonna start next time. Those word roots really help you, right? Crack the SAT because when you practice those old English things also become easier because you can compare word roots to those and stuff like that. Uh, Without further ado, let's get back onto the video.
Our goal here is accuracy over everything. And if that means spending an extra 1 or 2 minutes, by all means, bro, go for it. There are a couple test-taking technique strategies that I definitely feel are worth integrating into your repertoire. A super important part of the exam is keeping track of the amount of time that you have left. It's how you pace yourself when you're going through the questions. It's how you make sure you have a couple minutes at the end to go back and do your review. You want to stay locked in on this, but here's the deal. College Board has that little timer that's built into the center of the screen that's just constantly ticking down in the corner of your eye. I personally hate that timer. You see the little numbers like moving down when you're in the middle of the reading section and you're trying to look at the passage. It's just annoying. It can also be stressful when there's like 5 minutes left and you still have 2 questions to get to, because now every time you're in the middle of the question, you're looking at the timer like every 20 seconds to make sure you don't go over budget. If you feel the same way as me, go ahead and just hide the timer on your test while you're taking it. And then instead, develop some kind of a system for yourself where you're periodically checking the time at different points during the test. For example, check the time once when you get through a third of the questions, and then again when you get through 2/3, and then again when you feel like you just finished the section and you don't want to know how much time there is to go back and do your review. Now, once you finish the reading writing section, you should obviously know that you get a 10-minute break before the math section starts, but you should also plan out exactly how you're going to use that break. Keep in mind that even if the exam is only 2 hours long, by the time you get to the testing center, they assign you a room, they assign you a seat, you get any paperwork you need to filled out, and then you start and go through the section. It's going to take a lot longer than 2 hours. You will probably get hungry. Bring food and 100% bring water. You can just sip during the test. It's a nice little 10-15 second break if you need it. Helps you reset the mind. I'm a huge advocate for taking your practice test almost exactly like you would the real exam. That means you practice, of course, with full-length sections with the exact 10-minute break, but also I used to practice eating the exact same snack I would during the real exam. I'd finish up the reading writing section and then I'd sit every single practice exam and eat almonds and dates. I don't even like dates. I'm pretty sure it was like 99% psychological, but I felt like eating like dates would give me a sugar rush when I went into the math section, and so I just do it every single time. Doesn't matter whether or not it actually works. Whatever you feel works for you, go ahead and do it. When I'm taking the exam, I want to be ultra locked in. I'm not trying to talk to friends or think about anything except for the test. But when you're in the testing room, you can't control what other people are doing. There's almost always going to be someone in the back. Maybe it's one of your homies, maybe it's a random, yapping about how they forgot the Pythagorean theorem. Like, bro, you're a dumbass. Okay, that's fine. What does that have to do with me? Why are you telling me this now? Just tell your testing proctor that you need to go use the bathroom and then go take a little walk outside the room. You can stretch yourself out a little bit, go drink some water, just be at peace for a couple of minutes with no one in your ear, and then when there's about 2 minutes left, go back to the testing room and get settled. The evening directly before your exam, you don't want to do any heavy studying. My best recommendation is to do like 30 minutes of light practice questions, where you're basically just going through them to get the brain juices flowing, to keep your confidence up as you go into the exam. Just so you guys get a little more perspective here, I want to tell you a story of what it was like for me right before I took my SAT exam. I took my SAT during COVID when everything was canceled, so I ended up driving out 5 hours to the middle of nowhere, Oregon, just to be able to get a shot at taking the exam. SAT exams are always hosted on Saturdays, so I finished school, drove out, showed up in like a random motel, and that evening I did exactly what I'm telling you to do. I pulled out 2 reading passages at a time, so about 30 minutes worth of practice question work, did it just to make sure I was feeling good going to the exam, took a nice, good night's worth of rest, woke up the next morning, and then showed up at a random school that I've never personally been to before and took the test. It's relatively common for people to travel or at the minimum take their SAT at a school that they've never been to before. If you're going into that experience, don't be super nervous. Everyone's really friendly. You can ask them for scratch paper. They'll give you what you want. It's not something to be nervous about going into. Don't let it stress you out. The night before your exam, I also recommend doing a 5-minute sleep meditation right before you knock. When you're feeling anxious, it's like 10 times harder to actually fall asleep. So doing this will make sure you fall asleep faster, and it'll also make sure you get better quality sleep, so you wake up the next morning nice and rested. Pack up everything you'll need the day before. At the minimum, that means you're bringing a pencil for any scratch work you need to do, a charged calculator, make sure to bring your student ID as well as your admissions ticket, and then of course, bring a snack and a water bottle. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your chance to lock in. Go give the exam your best shot, get your dream score, and make our community proud. If you're interested in one-on-one consulting or you want me to review your resume for college apps and give you feedback on it, click the link below. And if you have personal questions, feel free to follow and DM me on Instagram or just leave the comment down below. I'm happy to help. Thank you all so much for watching. Go get those 1500s. This has been your
All right, so when you look at this, right, subscribe to this guy's channel if you haven't already. Great YouTube channel, right? So, what you want to do, what I'm going to do next, right? It's going to play word coach game, build a better vocabulary, right? Okay. What is a synonym? What is a synonym of polite, right? Um, yeah, let's go into it. Okay. What is a synonym of polite, right? Polite, courteous, right? A response was motivated, fueled, or inspired or driven. These words all mean practically the same thing. So kind of what is different about them. Fueled, inspired, motivated, these are kind of similar words. If you say a response was fueled by a person, was motivated, was inspired, but driven is kind of a different word. Okay. Well, at this point, you just have to guess, right? 2 siblings, right? That's only. What's the synonym of angry? Angry is gonna be just mad. Okay. The antonym of fortuitous. So for fortuitous for okay. So it's something like fortitude, right? That's the word I was thinking of. Fortitude is like um where you, even in tough situations, right? You can kind of take the good out of it and survive those situations. So an antonym of that is gonna be, could be different. But well, if you look at it, accidental, planned, random. Okay. Obviously, this one's easy. Convoluted is complex. Scrutiny. This is when you kind of like you scrutinize something. I don't know, just vociferous. Blatant is what I'm assuming, so it could be quiet. Okay, so belligerent. Uh, belligerent means kind of difficult to say here. Difficult to say here. Belligerent. It's not. It doesn't sound like it'd be calm. It sounds like it'd be hostile, right? Calm and friendly mean similar things. So we can weed out some of the words like that. Difficult is tough, hard, rough is all synonyms. Fast, slow. Excoriates. Seems like excavating, right? Excavating is kind of like taking something out of the earth. So, what's something similar? I don't think none of these words make sense. Okay. Praise. Oh wait, so that it kind of sounds like a negative word. So an antonym would be positive. So again, it's kind of lining up to it. Praise. Okay. Antonym for rich. Rich is wealthy, and the opposite is going to be poor, right? Magnanimous is going to be generous and forgiving. Uh, Quintessential. It's just essential. It's like the best possible. Uh, this is quintessential, right? You don't talk about a gem as being quintessential or something. It's just something that's really rare, not something that's essential in any way, right? So if you refer to a perfect example, that's the pinnacle. You would say it's the pinnacle, right? Correct spelling. Okay, this is not impetuous. Prudent is a good thing. Deliberate is could be either way. Rash is negative, right? Impetuous sounds like a negative one. Rash, okay. Strong, focus for detail, regard for detail, eye for detail. Eye for detail. It's like an idiom type thing. Similar to roadblock. Could be barricade, right? Barricade. Courage is going to be bravery. It's asking for a synonym, right? Opposite of old is going to be new, right? It's going to be new. Uh, Pretty is going to be beautiful. Antonym for open. So if the door's open, what's the antonym of that? Closed. And finally, timid is going to be something like shy. So the opposite is going to be bold. 23 out of 25. Now that is the best score we've gotten. It's by a good margin. By a good margin. To seize, to arrest. It's probably apprehend, right? To arrest someone, to apprehend a criminal, right? Praise. It seems like approbation, right? Appalling is negative. Aquatic is underground. It's gonna be approbation. If you look at it, to make use of something. It's obviously not inappropriate because you're making use of something, right? It's probably appropriate, right? Ambiguous means something like unclear. Archaic probably means something old. Relating to water. Aerial is in the sky. Something like that. Like aeronautics, something like that. Terrestrial is on the ground. Subterranean is underground. Aquatic is kind of this. Suitable for growing crops, right? Arable soil kind of makes sense, right? It's not appropriate, it's not artisan, right? It's gonna be arable. One who can resolve a dispute, make a decision, right? Making a decision could be either one, going with arbiter. Based on factors that appear random, right? It appears random, right? Um, the boys' decision to choose one college over the other seems. Oh, well, I already got it, but like, I accidentally looked at this, but If you look at the option that makes sense, that it's arbitrary, it's not appropriate, it's not ambiguous, which is unclear, it's not anonymous, which is a different word. It's arbitrary. Uh, Arbitration is resolving dispute relating to trees. Arboreal. Uh, the Spanish word for tree is árbol. So, uh, this word definitely makes sense. Obscure secret. It's an obscure secret, right? Anonymous means it's related, but it's not the same. Uh, it's ambiguous. It's kind of like obscure, right? Um, this is obscure, but ambiguous is not a secret, known only by a few. Ambiguous is kind of generally, kind of unclear. Unclear is a more better word for it. Arcane makes sense, right? Relating to an earlier period of time, archaic, just like I said. The most representative example of something. Most, it seems apocryphal. Oh, I think I had that word. Okay. Archetypical. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Actually, I've heard of archetypes. I just didn't read further. Extreme vigor, energy, enthusiasm. Abhors negative, ardor, assail. Okay, let's look at it. Assail is not it, so it has to be ardor. Ardor. Excessively dry. It's gonna be arid. It's an arid climate. Okay. The most representative example is archetypal or ar. I thought it was archetypical, but okay. Archetypal or archetypal. I don't know. All right, so let's move on to one of the course challenges now. Desmos is a very important a sort of thing, right? So we're gonna go in and get ourselves Des. Yeah, it's cement. Okay, let's start with math today, right? Get on with it, right? Might as well. Okay, so a research article that Omar was reading showed that middle school students with more nutritional knowledge, right, more nutrition tend to eat more fruits and vegetables, and less nutrition knowledge tend to eat less fruits and vegetables. What's a valid conclusion? Eating fruits and vegetables give middle schoolers more nutrition knowledge? No, because you're varying the independent variable to get the dependent variable, and in this case, it's going to be a student who has a lot of nutrition knowledge must eat a lot of vegetables. Whenever you have must or a conclusion that's very much like that, it's not good. There's a positive association between nutrition knowledge and fruit and vegetable consumption. This is good because we don't know what that association could be. Maybe you have a better nutrition knowledge because you're in a certain type of school or in a certain type of area, or you're in a certain county, right? Could be something like that, and that could be the reason why. You can't say definitively it's the reason, but obviously using common sense you can deduce that it's probably the reason, but we don't know that for a fact when we get to some of these scientific things. So you say association with, right? Which of the following accurately describes all solutions to the system shown? Now, when you have two variable systems, I think there's a way to solve it, but I believe it's just 0.5. Replace the W with Y and replace the V with X, I guess. 8Y plus 2X equals 3. And then the other one, 8Y equals 2 minus X plus 4Y. Now, as you can see, as these two lines go to infinity, what do you notice about them? It always stays the same distance. Now, what can you say, right? There's no solutions to the system. There's absolutely no solutions. And T isn't going to give you that type of trick question where if you do the math properly, it's going to show you. And even then, you can type in x equals something and go to the x value and figure it out. So, how many solutions does the given equation have? Okay, I don't really. Well, what's a solution? A solution is a root, and the root of a rational function is in the numerator, I believe. So you have one here. This is a unique root, right? So wait, this equals -1. Okay. You have to kind of do this, do that, but these two are some unique roots, and these kind of. Okay, yeah, these are unique. So I'm assuming it's two. I'm assuming it's two. Okay. Um. At rational functions, I don't know that well. Let's go for this, right? Number of commercially available food and vitamins tested for content of heavy metals. So after this question, I'm gonna end the stream a little bit early. I have to leave early today, but later on, the streams are gonna be longer and more engaging, right? I might have a rebrand of the streams, right? But for today, I'm just gonna end it after this. So, number of commercially available food and vitamins were tested for heavy metal content, right? The table partially represents supplements that were tested and whether their lead levels were safe. In about 41%, they found out unsafe lead levels. About how many were tested total? So we see the total here. Okay, so a number of commercially available food and vitamin supplements were tested. It partially represents the supplements that are tested. How many vitamin C were tested total? Okay, so it's kind of like a puzzle here, right? Kind of a puzzle. So when you look at this, there is going to be 307 total. We know that omega 3 is going to be 86 total. Omega 3 animal source, uh we can't really figure that. Okay, vitamin C, right? Okay. How many vitamin C were tested in total? I mean, if about 41% of were found to have unsafe. Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of difference. So that means 61% were safe. So 61 from that 41 kind of that ratio times 21. So how many were tested total? Plus 21. It's gonna us 52, right? It rounds to that. Okay. So is this an estimate? Okay. Well, that wraps up the stream. Alright.